This is Note Taking Guide 5.1 for Math 1. So today we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to talk about functions. So I just want to remind you before we even get started of how to do some simple things like simplifying expressions. So this is something that you should have known how to do for a really long time, combining like terms, writing powers from highest to lowest, that kind of thing. So we're going to kind of go through these quickly, and then as we go throughout this chapter, things will build on what we already know. So I'm looking for like terms, which means they have to have exactly the same power. If you notice, this 2x squared and that minus 4x squared have exactly the same variable on them. It's an x squared. Because they have exactly the same variable on them, I can combine them together. So I'm just going to take their coefficients, that's the number out in front of them, and punch it in my calculator and let my calculator do the work. So 2 from here minus 4 from here, which is going to give me negative 2 x squared. This plus 5 right here cannot be combined with anything else because it's not a like term with anything else. So I'm just going to put my plus 5 back behind on the end, and I'm done. So when we're doing this, we're always looking for the highest power first, so highest power to lowest power, and then we are trying to combine anything that we can combine together. So let's look over here. So highest power to lowest power on this one doesn't really make sense, but we do have variables that are different. So we have x's and we have y's. Normally when we have more than one variable, we want to do it in alphabetical order. So which variable comes first in the alphabet? That would be the x's. So I'm going to look at the x's first. So I have 7x here and a minus 2x here. So again, I'm going to use those leading coefficients, the numbers out in front of them, and just combine them together on my calculator. So 7 minus 2, which is 5, and throw the x back on them. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. I have 4y plus 8y. So 4 plus 8 is 12. Throw the y back on. So again, what we're doing is just simplifying expressions here as an introduction to some stuff we're going to do later on. All right, on this next problem right here, this one right here, it has some parentheses in it. Anytime we have parentheses in it like that, we're going to want to get rid of them. So let's multiply this 2 through right here to combine those terms together and get rid of those parentheses. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 3 is a negative 6. And then I still have this plus 6 back behind. Now my only like terms now are those 6's together. I have a minus 6 and a plus 6. Those actually cancel each other out to 0. So my answer is going to be that 2x because that's all I'm left with. Okay, same thing, next problem. The only thing we're going to do a little bit different is if you notice this minus sign right here is outside of a set of our parentheses. So really we got to subtract everything behind that. So we're going to have to subtract that 2x cubed. And we're going to have to subtract a negative, which means we're going to add, because minus a negative is positive, and 8x squared. I'm going to rewrite this front part, that 7x cubed minus 4x squared, and then we're going to just look for like terms. So I want to start with the highest power. The highest power is 3, so let's start with these ones that have 3's on them. So I have 7x cubed, and then I have a negative 2x cubed. So on my calculator, 7 minus 2 is 5, so I'm going to go 5x cubed. Then I'm going to do my x squared. So I have a negative 4x squared, and I have a positive 8x squared. So on my calculator, I'm just going to do negative 4 plus 8. When I do that, it gives me a positive 4, so positive 4, and then throw that x squared back on there again. All right, this next one looks exactly the same, besides it's a plus sign in between. When there's a plus sign in between, we don't have to worry about the signs. We get to keep them the way that they are. So we just need to combine like terms again. We have 10x cubed here and no other x cubes. But I did notice that while I was looking there that I have this x to the 4th, which is a higher power. So I'm going to do that x to the 4th first. That doesn't get to combine with anything because there's nothing else like it. I have a positive 10x cubed that gets to be combined together with nothing because there's nothing exactly like it. But I do have this negative 4x squared and this negative 2x squared, which are like terms. They do have exactly the same variable on them. So I'm going to combine those together. A negative 4 and a negative 2 make a negative 6. And then I still have that x squared on it. All right, last one, again, addition. So we're just combining like terms. We're finding anything that has like terms together. So we have a negative 5x squared here plus 2x squared. Punch that in your calculator and you get negative 3, and I said x, but this is a g this time, so I'm going to try and write the right letter, g squared. I have a negative 15g here and a positive 3g here, so punch that in your calculator. Negative 15 plus 3 is a negative 12. And then a positive 5 and a minus 3. So on your calculator, 5 minus 3 is 2. So this would be my solution on that last problem. Again, that's just simplifying expressions or combining like terms. Okay, now we're going to go a little bit into function form. So function form says use the functions below to find the value. So each one of these, this is my f of x function, this is my g of x function, my h of x function, and my a of x function. Those functions are given names so that we know which one to use when we're asked to do it. So if you notice right down here, this says to use the f function because it had an f in front of it. So we're going to use the f function and we're going to put x, the number 8 in place of x. So if my f function is 2x minus 5, I'm going to go 2 times 8 minus 5. And I'm just going to punch that in my calculator. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 minus 5 is 11. So my answer for that solution is 11. Okay, next problem tells me which function to use. It says use the g function. My g function is x squared minus 5. So I'm going to put negative 2 in place of the x. I'm going to square it, and then I'm going to do minus 5. So negative 2 squared would be negative 2 times negative 2, which is a positive 4. Positive 4 minus 5 is a negative 1. So my solution on that one is negative 1. The next one tells me to use the h function. So here's my h function up here. So I'm going to use the square root of x plus 4. And I'm putting 9 under as the square root. And then it's still plus 4. The square root of 9 happens to be the number 3, so it comes out as 3, and 3 plus 4 is 7, so my answer is the number 7. The next function asks me to use function a, and I'm going to substitute in negative 2. So function a is x squared plus 2x. So this time, if you notice, I have to put that value in 2 different places because there's 2 different variables inside my function. So I'm going to go negative 2 squared and then plus 2 times negative 2. So I'm punching that in my calculator exactly the way I wrote it, and your calculator will spit out the answer for you. But if you do a negative 2 squared, you'd have negative 2 times negative 2, which is a positive 4. And then this would multiply to be a negative 4. So you'd have positive 4 and a negative 4, which cancels each other out to be 0. All right, 4 more problems to go. So again, this says find h of 0, so we're using the h function. The h function is the square root of x plus 4. I'm putting 0 in place of the x, so I get the square root of 0, which is 0, and then plus 4, which is 4. This one says use the f function. The f function is 2x minus 5. And I'm going to put in the number negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 minus 5. 2 times negative 3 is a negative 6. Negative 6 minus 5 is negative 11. The next one says do a. So we're using our a function, which is x squared plus 2x. We're substituting in 4, so we'll have 4 squared plus 2 times 4. Just punch that in your calculator that way, but 4 squared is 16, 2 times 4 is 8. Those add together to be the number 24. And the last one says use the g function. The g function is x squared minus 5. We're putting in negative 4, so negative 4 squared minus 5. Negative 4 squared is 16, and 16 minus 5 is 11. So that's how we use function notation to solve today, by putting in the variable in, or the number in place of the variable. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your homework.